Hey everyone, welcome back on the B2A Tech Tips channel, the channel where you can find tips, tricks, and news around technology. So, let me ask you something. Have you ever looked around and thought, wait a second, is this real? Like, what if your whole life, everything you know, is just part of a giant computer simulation? Sounds crazy, right? But today, we're diving deep into that exact question. Are we living in a simulation? If you liked the video, make sure you leave a thumbs up and share. And if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. What if your favorite video game and your daily life have more in common than you think? From wild theories to actual scientific arguments, we're going to explore the mind-bending idea that reality as we know it might not be real at all. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. So, grab some popcorn, hit that like button, and let's jump into the rabbit hole together. The origins of the simulation theory. So, where did this wild idea of living in a simulation come from? It all starts way back with ancient philosophy. Picture this, Plato's allegory of the cave. Plato imagined people trapped in a cave, seeing only shadows on the wall, thinking that's all there is to reality. Fast forward a couple thousand years, and we've got Nick Bostrom, a modern philosopher, who took this idea and ran with it. In 2003, he dropped a bombshell. If advanced civilizations could create super realistic simulations, we might be living in one right now. Bostrom's argument goes something like this. Future civilizations might get so good at simulations that they run tons of them. And if that's true, the chances are we're actually in one of those simulations. It's a bit like being a character in the ultimate video game. But wait, there's more. This theory isn't just a philosophical brain teaser, it's got some serious tech implications too. Now, you might be wondering how this theory stacks up against real-world tech. Let's dive into the incredible advancements we're making in virtual reality, AI, and computing power. These technologies are pushing the boundaries of what's possible, making the idea of creating a fully immersive simulation seem less like sci-fi and more like a futuristic reality. So, buckle up as we explore how close we are to turning simulation theory into reality and what this could mean for our everyday lives. Ready to get your mind blown by some next-level tech talk? Let's go. Technological advances and the feasibility of simulations. All right, let's talk tech. We're living in an era where our gadgets and gizmos are evolving faster than ever. Think about virtual reality, those headsets that let you step into a whole new world. We're already creating incredibly immersive digital environments where you can interact, play, and even feel like you're actually somewhere else. It's like we're slowly inching toward the sci-fi dream of living in a simulated reality. Then there's artificial intelligence. AI is getting so sophisticated that it's starting to mimic human behaviors and decision-making. Ever had a chat with a chatbot that felt surprisingly human? That's just a glimpse into how advanced our tech is becoming. If we keep this up, who knows how realistic future simulations could get? It's like we're building the foundations of a virtual universe one breakthrough at a time. But here's where it gets really interesting. With all these advancements, the idea of creating a fully immersive simulation doesn't seem so far-fetched anymore. It's not just science fiction, it's starting to look like a real possibility. So, what if we're not just imagining this? What if there's actual scientific evidence or theories suggesting that we might already be living in a simulation? Stay tuned because we're about to dive into some mind-blowing scientific evidence and theories that could either confirm our wildest sci-fi fantasies or completely shatter them. Ready to see what the science says? Let's jump in. Scientific evidence or theories. All right, let's get into the science behind the whole simulation theory. Some scientists think there might actually be signs that we're living in a digital world. Take quantum mechanics, for example. It's the study of how particles behave at super tiny scales, and honestly, things get weird down there. Particles pop in and out of existence, change when you observe them and act in ways that seem glitchy. It's almost like we're seeing the edges of the code that runs our universe, or like the simulation is trying to conserve resources by only rendering stuff when we're looking at it. Another scientific rabbit hole is the theory of digital physics. This idea says that everything in the universe might be made up of tiny bits of information, kind of like how pixels make up an image on your computer screen. If the universe is essentially built out of data, doesn't that sound a lot like it's been programmed? It's a mind-blowing thought, but it's one that more and more scientists are considering. Now, here's where things get even spookier. There's something called the cosmic microwave background, basically the afterglow of the Big Bang. When scientists study it, they've noticed strange patterns that seem suspiciously orderly, almost like fingerprints left behind by whoever or whatever created our universe. Are these cosmic glitches a sign we're in a simulation? No one knows for sure, but it definitely makes you think twice about what's real. But here's the big question. Even if we are living in a simulation, what does that mean for us? Is it all just one big philosophical mind game, or should we be worried about the ethical implications of being, well, digital beings? Let's dive into the philosophical and ethical side of things, because if reality isn't real, it changes everything. Free will, morality, even the meaning of life. Philosophical and ethical considerations. All right, so if we are living in a simulation, what does that mean for how we live our lives? Philosophically, this theory messes with some of our deepest beliefs. For starters, if everything around us is simulated, do we even have free will? Are we just characters in a game, following predetermined scripts? That's a pretty unsettling thought. But some philosophers argue that even if we're in a simulation, it doesn't change much. We still have the illusion of choice, and that's what really matters. Now, let's talk about ethics. If we're in a simulation, who or what created it? Are we just a science experiment in some advanced civilization's lab? And if so, does that make our suffering or happiness any less important? Some people think this theory could give us a new perspective on morality. If we knew our world was just a game, would we treat each other differently? Or would the knowledge make people act out, since nothing's real anyway? That's a scary possibility. Another big philosophical question. What's the point of it all? If everything is simulated, does that mean life has no real meaning? Or does it make the experience of life even more precious, knowing that we're part of something bigger? Some argue that whether or not we're in a simulation, the beauty of existence is still valuable. It's not so much about what's real, but how we experience it. Now, before we start spiraling into existential dread, let's pump the brakes. Not everyone's convinced we're living in a simulation, and there are plenty of reasons to be skeptical. Let's dive into some counter-arguments and see why some people think this theory is nothing more than science fiction gone too far. Counter-arguments. All right, let's pump the brakes on this whole simulation theory for a second, because not everyone's buying it. First off, one of the main counter-arguments is the lack of solid evidence. Sure, we've got some fun ideas and odd quantum mechanics, but there's no real, undeniable proof that we're living in a computer-generated world. It's a lot of what-ifs, without anything concrete to back it up. So, until we see a legit glitch in the matrix, some folks are staying skeptical. Another big argument against it? The odds are just too crazy. If we're in a simulation, that would mean some advanced civilization is running it. And then you'd have to assume they have the power and desire to simulate billions of conscious beings. That's a lot of computing power, and we don't even know if that's possible on a cosmic scale. Critics argue that the chances of this being real are slim to none, because the logistics are just too wild. Plus, there's the philosophical counter. Some thinkers say that even if we could simulate reality one day, it doesn't mean that we're currently in one. Just because we can imagine something doesn't mean it's true. It's like saying, I can imagine flying pigs, so they must exist. The leap from theory to reality is huge, and we don't have enough info to justify it. Finally, Some scientists and philosophers argue that the simulation theory is unfalsifiable, meaning there's no way to prove it wrong or right. It's a fun idea to think about, but if you can't test it or disprove it, is it really worth worrying about? At the end of the day, it might just be a thought experiment that doesn't have much impact on how we live our daily lives. Conclusion and call to action. All right, folks, that's a wrap on our deep dive into whether we're living in a simulation. We've explored some mind-blowing theories, from quantum quirks to digital physics, and even touched on those wild philosophical debates. So, what do you think? Are we in a high-tech simulation, or is reality just reality? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm dying to know what you all think. If you enjoyed this journey through the rabbit hole, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our new video. And hey, share this video with your friends. Let's see if we can get them thinking about their own reality check. Thanks for watching, and remember, whether we're in a simulation or not, we're still here living and experiencing this wild ride called life. See you next time for more awesome content on the 3T channel.